Okay.
All right, are we ready?
Yes.
Call to order at
9:07.
9:07.
Oh, good.
David emailed this morning to say he was unable to attend, but otherwise I think we have a full
Yeah.
representation. We have 5 regulars here, yes. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of the April 7th meeting?
So moved.
Carolyn
second.
moves. And there's a second, yes. And any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Public comment. Public. Hi,
Greg.
public. Hi, public.
It's a big group. It's like, you're hopefully not.
Hey, and just like that, we're ahead of schedule.
Yes.
Okay. Well, thank you to Julie and Carolyn for working on what I've called procedure guidelines is kind of turned into a revision of the website to make sure we have a material and
Okay.
make sure we. Who is there?
It's just me.
So turn your phone down.
Oh, I see. It's just a feedback loop.
Turn it all the way down.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay,
Do you have this, John?
Still go back.
Do you have this, these are the website revisions? Are you?
yeah, I don't have it printed up.
Okay, so,
I read through them. Oh, here they are.
oh, okay.
So anyway, thank you to Julie and Carolyn for these revisions. It started off as a review of our procedure, but it's turned into sensibly a review of all the material that's on the website, trying to put that in a format that's accessible to the public. Is it possible to turn that down more?
Yeah.
Mute it? Okay,
Say something.
Test 1, 2. That's good.
okay, thank you. So let me just turn it over to Julie and Carolyn for comments.
Well, you start with what you pointed out. Yeah.
Right, originally, just looked at the website primarily to see if we could consolidate and streamline some of the procedural information, just to make it a little more accessible to visitors, easier to understand, easier to see, and also ideally maybe to make the website a little cleaner, so we could add things to it, as we wanted to. So that was kind of the original mandate, which I attempted to do to the best of my ability. And I submitted that info a few months ago. And then Carolyn very kindly agreed to revisit it and to help wordsmith that and relook at everything and help streamline it. And then she worked her miraculous talents and made it much better. So Carolyn, take it from here with respect to everything she's done so far.
Sure. And Julie, one of the things Julie pointed out so importantly was the redundancy throughout the website. So I don't think it's not quite finished yet, but this first overview and first sort of crack at reducing the redundancy and making things, improving the clarity of the whole website, I think, at least it's a start, and maybe the next meeting we can finish, or I can revise the signage guidelines and the FAQs, which I haven't revised yet, which both need, revisions. So, but this is at least a start. So I'll just tell you the conception. I looked at some other of the Old Lyme Commission web pages, home pages, and I thought the Inland Wetlands Commission homepage could be, its design could be something that we could borrow. So on the main page, they have Historic District Commission and meetings and list of members, which I don't think should change. Those are fine. And then below that, they have Inland Wetlands Commission overview. And that seemed to me to be the best place to put it, was right on the homepage rather than having it be in the sidebar.
I agree.
So That's so if you're following here, so the homepage, meetings, members would be no change. The FRA communications, I don't think belongs on the homepage because it's a minor detail, so that moves to the left sidebar. And then the Historic District Commission overview occupies the rest of the main body of the homepage. And so you can read through these, I wanted there to be bullets instead of dashes, but you can read through that later and see if you want to change the wordings. Then also following that on the homepage would be the historic district map. I think that's important.
Yes.
Not a sidebar thing.
Mhm.
So we can, that I thought it should have a head note that addresses the revisions, that, addresses changes in the little boxes, the text boxes. So that will be pretty easy to change. And then the Old Lyme Handbook revisions. Where did I get that from? Oh, that was the third thing. Yes. Yeah, if you go to the previous text, which appears on the left sidebar, it has a section called Old Lyme Historic District Handbook Revisions, which is mostly the information is all provided elsewhere. So I suggest deleting that whole section. So the homepage would have meetings, members, Historic District Commission overview, and Historic District map. That would be it for the main body of the homepage.
When we get to the handbook itself, or somewhere, maybe on the front page, the fact that the handbook has revision should be noted. Or when you go and click on handbook, it would have the revisions. I assume.
That could be on the homepage if you want. So
Well-
the third bullet in the Historic
Yeah.
District Commission overview is a link to the HDC handbook. So it could appear there. There could be a text
Just
below that
hand-
says,
or just, well, no, we don't need it, the actual revisions there, but just to highlight for people that there are revisions to it. So that they don't grab the handbook and say, this is it.
so maybe then that
You mean
note-
don't grab a physical copy of it and say this is it?
Right,
Right,
if
you
they
could say
just look at the
mailbox as
home
of-
page and say, oh,
Yes,
I
I
need
get
the
your point,
handbook.
Joan.
Yeah.
So that on the HDC handbook link, that would be the place to say these,
Yes.
please note the
Right,
revisions.
yes.
So I'm just making note of that. Now the right sidebar, just not to spend too much time on this. This is pretty consistent with the other
Right.
commissions, agendas and minutes, contact us. I initially thought physical address would be included in contact us, but other commissions have it as a separate item, so that's all fine. And then the quick links, I think we might want to add the zoning commission and the planning commission because, or maybe even the buildings department, the zoning and buildings, because that's what other town commissions do. If you're going to have to switch to zoning, there's a quick link on our website.
Good idea.
So that's easy. And then those, whatever you call them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I think can be removed from the homepage and included in the content of the homepage, main body and the sidebars. So that would clean up the homepage.
Yeah.
And that's nothing much changing on the right sidebar. So any questions before we go to the left sidebar?
No, Carolyn, I think it's great to have all this information so that somebody who's brand new to the area knows the who, why, what, when.
Yeah.
The lingo of the CFA, that's so confusing, and I feel like it just needs to be crystal clear right on the website
Right.
of who it applies to, what, where, how. So I think that's great.
Okay, good. So then the left sidebar would begin. The Historic District Handbook, which is the second item, has moved to the main page. So that's removed from the left sidebar. And the first item would be Certificate of Appropriateness Guidelines. And I've given the text here. I've tried to condense the information about COFA applications and all of that from other information. I've tried to make it, condense it all here rather than having it in several different places. I don't think we should talk about the details. No, you can review the details and the wording and make any suggestions you want, because it's not going to be final today. I'm just going over the, oh, I did note, Russ, that um, we had somewhere, we have to add lighting. Oh, yes, under C, COFA requirements specified. I just wrote insert bullets and add lighting. There's no lighting here. We have HVAC units and driveways and signs, but we don't have lighting. So that needs a separate section. And I'm not sure if that already exists on the webpage in some
We
other
haven't,
place.
we've
where
done
it
lighting
needs to be.
relative to signage, but we haven't done lighting as far as the C of A, or in terms of, dark sky and all that. I mean,
Yes.
we've always had a lighting
Yes,
requirement, but
But we should at least note that that's something you have to put on
Yeah.
the C of A, and
right.
lighting comes next, signage, website,
Lighting.
just
Yeah,
saying.
it's coming.
Just saying.
It's coming.
So the left sidebar has guidelines for C of A. And then which can be broken into 3 different sections. Maybe it can be condensed, but at least it's a start. And I included the COFA records, which is presently on the website, which just if anybody wants to look back, at least it's available as the last item. And then the like for like guidelines, followed by signage guidelines, followed by public hearings, if that's important. I think it is. John had a section, or somebody had a section called legal notices, but I didn't think legal notices actually conveyed what it was about. It's really about scheduling public hearings and when they're required. So I made that a separate entry on the left sidebar. And then the rest are not changed. Historic plaque program, historic architectural resources, and I thought we could move the Federal Railway Administration communications there to the left sidebar. And then the final thing would be frequently asked questions. So that's the conception. And I made a first stab at condensing and consolidating all of the details and information in the text, which you can review. And I'll certainly review it one more time to be sure that it's not redundant and that it's clearly outlined.
I guess the one question I have, I mean, if I'm a resident and I'm thinking about doing a project, I already know that I have to submit. Is the C of A form and the like for like form just like one click on the front? Or is it
No, it's
varied?
2 clicks.
2 clicks.
It's separate clicks. To me, that seemed less confusing, but if you want 1 click, it's
Well, so what are the 2 clicks?
C of A guidelines and like for like guidelines.
And then
They're listed.
Those, it would be a click, right?
No,
Click.
but he's talking about the form.
The
itself,
actual
like
form itself.
Accessing the
Oh,
form itself.
it's in the body, but it could be right. That
I think
should
it
be the
needs to
first
be,
thing.
yeah, well, I just think that that's what people are gonna, all the information's great, but
Yeah.
what they're gonna come to the site for is the
Mhm.
form.
Yeah,
Maybe
because,
some-
for example, I left it where it was in the existing text, but that's a good suggestion. So if you just look because it's brief, like for like guidelines.
I think it should be up top.
The
It's like,
form
it's
is-
like if you've got a product, you're gonna
form is
sell,
in the
you're gonna sell a
first-
product, it's like
second
buy here,
sentence.
and that's kind of the.
Sure. No, that's
Yeah,
great.
and
Yeah.
many people will already know the process and they just need.
They just want the form.
Yeah,
So
Good.
Yeah, it
Good
is,
idea.
because you click here to get here.
I just had a
And
couple
then it can be taken out in the other places.
thoughts. One, I've already mentioned it to Julie and Carolyn, but just
Yeah.
to make sure it fits in, is that we have to be very careful that the description of, let's say, like for like on the actual form is the same as in our guidelines.
Right.
Yes, and I didn't have time to
you
do
haven't
all
done
of
that.
those.
The second of 3 points is about maps and, Russ,
Yes.
I don't see, just to check with you, I don't see any need to include the original map with annotations if we have the
Right,
revised one, which incorporates the latest changes that
Right.
you and David and I have been discussing about the Florence Griswold boundary.
well, that's a good question. Do we use the PDF which is the original map, and then we made the amendments to that
Right.
to then inform the GIS map. And it seems to me that what we should do is finalize the GIS map, get a printout of that, and have that be the actual, in other words, what's on the GIS, which is the town GIS website.
I mean, people are going, again, what are they going to want to know? They're going to, may want to know, is
Right.
my property in the,
Right.
the thing? But
Right,
along with that, I think we need a few pointers, like maybe the heading could be, have more detail about HDC boundaries. For example, one of the things that's sometimes confusing is whether if somebody's wants to do a project on their house and their house is part in and part outside of the
Right.
district, are they in? And the answer is yes, but that's not crystal
Clear
clear
on a
right
map.
now.
right.
And we might think about a couple of other little basic points, 300 feet back unless there's a lot behind that has no road access.
Right.
Just real simple points about, where it is. I think what you got on the general commission overview is great for the front page, but
Yeah, that's a good
when they're-
idea.
when they're pushing that. And the third thing, which I mentioned to Carolyn at least, is, and I can do this for the next meeting, I would love to have a link somewhere with links to other organizations. SHPO, Connecticut Preservation as sources,
The-
potential
the
sources
federal-
of, and the federal one.
Yeah.
And Martha, maybe you can help me remember the names, and potentially even links to area historical societies if people are generally interested in the history of Lyme.
You mean just the old Lyme historical, or do you think Saybrook and Madison? What do you think?
I confine it to Lyme, just the limes, but maybe,
Right.
The museum archives, Old Lyme Historical, East Lyme
Yeah,
and Public Hall.
it's not directly relevant really, but it's fine. I think it's,
Yeah,
The National Historic Register is good because
oh, yeah,
we're listed on the register.
good.
Getting back to the map for 1 second, John, I mean, we can't actually do a link to the GIS. I think the best thing to do is to take the updated GIS map and print that out and then post that as the final map. Because then that way, everything that's on the GIS, it aligns with it. So I'll have to do a real scrub of that to make sure it's exactly not just the Florence Griswold point, but also remember coming up the street, remember the sidewalk issue.
yes.
And I'm not I want to make sure that's represented in the GIS map. It may or may not. be.
Right, but that's also a point that might be highlighted in the description.
In the
because
description.
the other
Right,
ones
right,
are squinting
right,
to
right.
see if.
All right, got it. Okay, thank you.
And we can put up what's there now and then just sub this in when it's
That's
ready.
right, yeah.
But
Yeah,
Sure.
okay.
those are my.
All right, we should have both.
Julie, thank you.
I mean,
so
there could
much.
be bullets, the type GIS map, and then give the date, and Lyme Historic District map and give the date, if you want both, but one
Well,
is.
the GIS map would just be of the district.
Yes.
So.
Yeah.
One
Either way,
thing,
You all decide on the map.
one comment, it is kind of, I think you may have alluded to it, John. I don't know if this document is part of what we're discussing here, but whenever we start listing C of A is required for the following, and we talk about fences, stone walls, driveways, blah, 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 blah. It seems like we should always state structures because the code is any structure.
Yeah.
So always put structure, then you can list whatever you want to list, and then I would say, et cetera. That
Right.
way we don't ever leave out something that could be a structure that's not on that list. right? So it's, the C of A is required for all structures and then give examples. But don't leave those examples defined as just to those, but put et cetera. So that there could be something that somebody could dream up as a structure that it's not on the list, like a solar array in the middle of the yard.
Well, you know, that, then you get into, do we need to define what a structure is, which can be done easily. That we'll work on those details.
That's just one
I don't
suggestion.
think we do, but so in the text that I used, because I tried to stay as close as I could to what was already provided. It says the COFA is required for the following as outlined in the HDC handbook. Maybe we'll take that out because the link for the handbook is already on the main page. And just use your language instead,
Well,
Russ.
there's language.
I mean, I
The
think
CFA
this
application
is
is required
okay.
for,
The structures, for example.
Yes, that's right.
You know,
And actually in the C of
but
A,
that should be on.
we can take out the handbook there. I don't think we have to reference the handbook.
right.
Okay.
Because
Take that out.
on the C of A form itself, it's talking about structures. And see, that goes back to the state codes.
Good.
So I'm trying to get it aligned with the state code.
Trevor, can I backtrack for a minute? Maybe it's mentioned somewhere and I just haven't seen it. But if I'm brand new here, remember there's like 5 or 6 properties for sale on the street.
Yes.
And if I look at this, my first thought is, why do I have to do this? Do we have somewhere in there that it said this is to maintain the historic
No.
character? And also,
Good idea.
I would also want reference, I need to know that it's a state statute. That's why.
It's legal.
That's right.
Oh, that's
Legally
important.
obligated.
A
Yeah.
group saying you have to do this.
Well,
Reference to the state statute and
that
why.
that is on the front page in
Okay.
their description.
Okay,
But I love the idea about the, you know, a general
right. This
statement
isn't
about why are we doing this?
Exactly.
Yeah, chapter 97.
But instead of based on, do you want to say required by? John, and that language, it's on the first page of this handout, the second item under the District Commission overview. The HDC's authority is based on, we could say is
Or derives from,
Right.
derives
let's
from,
debate that.
derives from.
That's top of my head.
Sure.
That's a good question to ponder.
Under the COFA application form and procedures, it says to permit time for publication, all applications must be received at the town hall 3 weeks prior. 3 weeks. We don't get most of them 3 weeks.
Nobody's ever done that.
No one has ever done that.
Let's change what we do.
I mean, should we just go ahead and say 1 week prior or 2 weeks?
You know, it's nice to have 10 days.
10
prior.
days.
10 days.
Right. Because 3
then
weeks. Do you see where that is?
Where are you thinking? No, I was writing down.
COFA application form and procedures. It's the first bullet. Upon receiving a formal application,
Yes.
and bolded is 3 weeks prior, first
Yes.
bullet. Martha's suggesting we change it to 10 days.
And it doesn't have to be bolded.
It doesn't, that's more reasonable.
Yeah.
Will say that inland wetlands lets you come in with your application 2 days.
How do they do that when they're required to do a public notice? I wonder.
I don't know.
I know. I'm right. We have to do it. We have to have it published in the day and all that.
Yeah, and publishing has to be between 14 and 5 days before the meeting. So we need at least 5 days to get that published
Okay.
within the guidelines.
I mean, this is another question, but for access, I think Eric Knapp has raised this point. Who reads the legal ads in the newspaper?
Nobody.
Nobody. So there's no effective public notice the way there should be.
Plus
So,
it's costly.
right. Plus it's costly. Apparently that's what
It's
the
just
state
protocol.
statute
Right.
is
just
now.
protocol.
But if we want to give notice, is it there a possibility? But it would require regular updating of the website every month to just post notices
Well, let's
ponder
think
on
about
the
that.
things.
Yeah. that
Well,
would
but
be
it's
later.
another
Yeah,
possible
it
topic.
is.
People are reading social media and,
The people of online. No.
well, you know, they put the notices in the back page of the New London Day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which nobody reads.
No,
Nobody.
But I don't, yeah, I.
Well,
That's a can
anyway,
of worms.
I don't think people regularly sit there and read the HDC website either, so it may not make a difference.
We have a news guy here. Where do you see it? Is there,
Lawyers read them.
is there,
Lawyers do read them, yeah, that's true.
I think online only has 300 and some odd subscribers a day.
Wow.
So
And maybe
Okay.
then in the last, I'm sorry, right, finish your point. I was still thinking.
sorry, excuse, I shouldn't interrupt.
That's-
no, no,
I was saying
asked you.
that the day, surely the day doesn't. I mean, there was a court case just recently over notice dealing with Fenwick, which would be the most relevant. And they ruled that there was not, the courts ruled there was improper notice, insufficient notice based on the fact that there was not a single subscriber to the Hartford Courant in Fenwick.
Well,
And so that's the most recent case, but otherwise, the law at this point is mainly to subsidize newspapers.
okay, all right.
If we could stick with this just one last
Yes.
minute, if you can go to the last page, page 4, under public hearings, the last 2 sentences, I mean, the text maybe here isn't quite right. I just copied it. Legal notices are also published on the town's website and sent out via regular mail to abutting neighbors. Public hearings are open to the public to attend. Letters, it doesn't say what kind of letters. I wasn't sure. Letters may be sent in advance to the historic. Kind of letters, that to me isn't clear.
Well, I suppose, you just say any
Comments,
any
letters.
communications may be sent. I think of that as letters when people are concerned about something.
Right.
That's,
And
But
what-
Maybe we could just describe, I mean, I just was
Yeah,
gonna clarify
That's a
that.
good point.
letters of concern, letters of
Letters of
support,
concern, yeah.
letters of
Or
concern or support may be sent in
Yeah, that's good.
advance.
concern, support, information. What's on your mind?
That's good, Deanie. And then application materials are on file. It doesn't say on file where. I mean, if I'm, if I'm what Deb is saying, I've just come to town, application materials, does that mean forms? And all the supporting material, I didn't think that was totally clear. If I wanted to find them, where would I go? Where are
would
they?
they,
Yeah,
where
where in
would-
this
where-
building?
if somebody
I-
wants to see a C of A, where do they find it?
I just
In
wanted to clarify. that
Planning and
sentence.
zoning up in land use.
So in planning and so,
Yes.
in plan. in
They're
the
not
plan-
gonna have that before the meeting.
Land use.
They're
They're
not going to have applications available before the meeting, but once we've acted on them, they're accessible
Well-
through planning and zoning.
But see, that's an issue. In other words, I'm just thinking if I'm a neighbor to a property and the property is submitting a C of A, and as a neighbor, I want to understand what they're submitting so that I can come and speak to the HDC. I need to be able to see that information,
We'd have to say,
right?
contact Martha.
You get the abutters letter.
I was gonna say, do they get the
You
abutters letter?
get the abutters letter if
Right.
you're a neighbor.
But somebody in town generally could be.
So there is
big
a-
project.
Little explanation,
A little.
whatever is in the legal notice.
But
So
you
that
don't
they'll
have
know.
the benefit of the whole full application
No,
until the
right.
meeting.
Right.
But I'm just not sure. I mean, that would
Well,
require
but-
submitting it weeks before.
Right.
I mean, that's one reason to get
Yeah.
it ahead of, more than 10 days ahead of time.
Right.
But if somebody else driving by says, I want to know what they're doing,
Right.
for example, the new house down the road.
Right.
They could come to the meeting.
Or
they can
find
go to
it
land use.
upstairs? I was gonna say, and
I mean, there's just a point at which someone has to go up there.
right,
ask.
and what
Yeah.
is it clear our connection with land use? I know that we had talked about that at some point, but do they have what we need, like we said, for somebody brand new, somebody who's gonna build something or gonna do a major renovation? when they walk in upstairs, is there any communication that, oh, you need, to, this is in the
Yeah.
historic district? Did we clarify that?
Supposedly, all the forms
They do.
now
Okay.
notify them that they have to come here first.
Okay.
But on the question, if somebody's oblivious to whether they're in the historic district or not, one of the forms, I think it's the building form, has them certify that they're not, there's a box and you check either I'm not in the historic district or I've gone,
Okay, good.
Well, and they flag them upstairs.
Yeah.
Craig has been flagging them.
There was-
Well, he
there
sends
was-
us things all the time
But
saying,
Good.
but
we
there was
think
one
this
that-
is in the historic district.
But there was one that was missed.
Missed.
Pamela's, Hamilton.
There was one that was missed, but we
uh,
came down on them for
HVAC
that.
Was
Okay.
missed.
Okay.
And she came in later, but just the
Yeah.
contractor who was
Right.
doing the work
When things
thought it
happen.
wasn't in the district.
Well,
Okay.
anyway, that issue can be clarified because I don't think we know what, I mean, I think both Deb and Russ have made really important points. So I'm not, in that case, perhaps it should go on the homepage, letters of concern or application material or something, because that might be important. I don't know. We can figure that out.
Okay,
Okay,
we do need to move on.
yes, let's do.
Do you have a copy of the Realtor? Do you have a copy of the Realtor form that was attached?
I couldn't find that Realtor.
Well, you sent it out.
I have it. I just didn't print it.
Did
I
I?
have it.
Well, so we have no hard copies of that?
Did I send that?
Postpone that if we're behind, John, and do that.
I was
the next
looking for
meeting?
it last night.
I guess let's do that.
Or we can, I mean, I
I mean,
read it.
here's a general discussion. It is helpful
I have
to
something.
read through it. I tried to lay it all out in
This is all I
in a
printed. It didn't print.
in one
Yeah, it's
page.
that.
I read it.
But
Last one.
yeah,
Is this the last one or is
That
this
was the last one.
Oh, it's
That
been
was the end.
revised. I think you've revised it.
yeah,
This
there's
is-
a one-page revision.
Oh.
This is how mine printed out. So I don't,
Oh,
Just
let me
didn't
see if
do
it's
very
in
well.
my file here.
Oh, wait. April 26th.
Okay, I've got it.
Number 6, no, because I was looking
Yeah.
for that thing.
I revised it for May.
I got it.
I have
Well,
it.
let's move ahead
Here
and
it
if
is, John,
there's,
you
if
want
there's
to see
time,
it Here.
if there's time, we'll do it later, but
Do it.
otherwise we're
Yeah.
way behind. So
That's
let's
great.
Okay,
let's
okay.
hold this for ongoing business.
Okay.
Co-chairs report briefly.
All right, very briefly. I'm sure everyone by now is aware that the overlay proposal was defeated at zoning. And just to note that, we did submit our public comment and I think it was read by many and appreciated. So that has happened and anything going forward is TBD. The chocolate shell has a new owner. And there was a sandwich board sign made out over the weekend.
Ice cream.
Ice cream. So that's something that no doubt will interest people. And the last thing I just want to say is, has anyone else noticed that we were talking about the screening of the mechanicals at the Children's Learning Center?
It's done.
I know, but there's no front panel.
Right, there's no, the front is
In
open.
other words, it's screened along the side of the driveway and it's screened facing the back of the building. From
Right.
Lime Street, you look right
Right, the place
into
that
it.
it's supposed to be.
The very place that it's supposed to be is completely open.
Open, so.
And Martha, I don't know whether that's intentional or whether they're
Maybe they're not done.
not finished.
Yeah.
That
I'll inquire about that.
Okay.
When we has a letter gone out to the new owners of the chocolate shop?
No, I just heard about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
When we do that, it might be appropriate to highlight in the cover note about something about signs, I can help with it.
Oh, and just the
The-
last
the
thing,
language.
the Homeward, the shop Homeward has left, and the space previously occupied is now going to be occupied by the Connecticut Examiner. And they are on our agenda today for a sign.
So, okay, I have a brief update just and some questions just about the railway planning and capacity study. The detail,
One other change, just before, rather than adding it, I did notice that the shutters on the Daniel Chadwick House have been taken off. I don't know if it's just being repainted or if they're permanently removed.
Oh.
But I think that's something we should be paying attention to because it's a significant change. It's maybe a good change because the house has now returned to a more historic style. Probably the shutters were added much later, not in 18. I could check. There are photographs we could check, but anyway, just something to notice. But the fixtures are still there, so maybe they're putting them back up.
I think they're
Just want to note it.
So what house was that?
The Hinckley, former Hinckley House.
Oh, okay.
That's a great question, Carolyn, because I have shutters for my house that are in my basement that I was planning to at some point
Something.
fix them and put them back on. But the question is, what is historically correct? Would they have been added?
I'll just, maybe for the next meeting, I'll just.
I'd love to know shutter. Yeah, that'd be nice.
Yeah.
Right. Have a shutter bonfire. No, I would never do that.
well, it would be helpful for the next meeting, Martha, if you could just check with them as to
Yeah.
whether they're planning to remove them or.
And were they ever sent a welcome letter?
Yes, they were.
I don't know what's more appropriate. It's interesting.
Okay, so my brief comments are about the railway capacity study. Looking back, it's now been over a year since we had a detailed reply to our January very detailed letter. And skimming through, we asked several questions. What is the projected timeline for completing key portions of the study? They anticipate kicking off in spring of 24 with a study to last 18 to 24 months. There will be a detailed project schedule prepared. There will be, quote, many opportunities for key stakeholders and community members to inform the capacities planning study. These opportunities will be detailed in the outreach and engagement plan, which will be developed at the outset of the study. There will be multiple large virtual and in-person open houses in public, open house style public meetings. All public meetings will be well advertised. I don't know where this stuff is. I looked on the website. I'm not known as a great website researcher. I found the most recent thing was a May of last year letter of interest about the New Haven Providence capacity planning study, sort of a call for participation, I think. But Greg's up next on another matter. I'm curious if you have any updates. I guess one question I have is whether it's appropriate to send a follow-up letter saying, over a year ago, you said X, Y, and Z. Where is it?
So in terms of where the capacity planning study is, we queried Amtrak, who's taking the lead on this project, approximately 2 weeks ago.
Oh, okay.
Because we were aware that Amtrak and Rhode Island DOT had met with Charlestown to discuss their current position on the Old Saybrook to Canyon bypass, which had been removed from the record of decision. But the metrics that that bypass solved remain in the record of decisions. So basically what Amtrak said is you have to accomplish, or the FRA said, you have to accomplish this. How you accomplish this between New Haven and Providence is up to you, but it cannot be all one corridor. So
The ROD was
was 2017.
Yeah.
So, the fact that they have met with Charlestown, it's the first meeting that we know of and the first time that the removed bypass has been mentioned in a meeting, to my knowledge, since 2017. They have not, as far as we know, they've not met with anyone in Connecticut. I would say that Amtrak was, not exactly forthcoming. But they did suggest that that the time frame has been pushed off maybe to complete. They said it might take 2 years. It wasn't clear when 2 years began. And it was sort of a cut and paste letter. We also queried the Northeast Corridor Commission about 8 months ago. About all correspondence related to it. They sent us 122 pages that were probably 90% redacted. And so, yeah, so there you go. So my impression is that no decisions have been made, but it would be, but if they're meeting, if Amtrak arrived out of meeting with other towns, right, they're meeting with Beaumont. So, because technically the one thing you should be wary of, I'll say one last thing and I'll shut up, is that you can make those savings any place you want.
Right.
So if Rhode Island, which was actually, I don't think people in Old Lyme know just how important Charlestown was to blocking this.
Mhm.
And if Charlestown could get out of it and leave that all to Connecticut, they can cut that deal in a second.
Well, it sounds to me as though we may want to send a letter. I think one thing that happened is we actually have 2 letters from Amtrak up on our website. One is the very detailed, well, 4 pages, question by question responses that was sent April 1st. The second is a form letter from Amtrak sent in May. And my guess is, the detailed responses may have slipped through the crack. I think that maybe they've started sending out form letters. Maybe I'm wrong.
To be fair, I'll say 2 things. To be fair, your letter from our freedom of information request, your letter bounced all over the bureaucracy. So it was one of the more read and shared letters in years. So it was definitely seen. The other thing is, let's face it, there's an immense amount of chaos and uncertainty on federal level at the moment. So I doubt that they necessarily know how this administration stands on the Northeast Corridor. It potentially could be very pro high-speed rail. And certainly federal streamlining has strong bipartisan support for environmental rules. Chris Murphy has spoken strongly for streamlining, as has Donald Trump personally. So if an administration could get it done, it would probably be this administration, which is interesting. And they've taken a personal interest in, and Donald Trump has expressed a personal interest in the Penn Station expansion. So it's not that trains aren't on their radar as well. That's all I can. I doubt they know if it's 2 years or
Well, I'm not sure how we should proceed, and I don't want to send a letter if it's going to stir them to action, but it sounds it sounds as though, given the meeting in Charleston, that they're, as you say, at least having some meetings and
DOT would probably be better. The state.
Connecticut.
DOT is probably the better contact, along with
Right.
Murphy and Blumenthal.
well, they're all copied on on stuff, but,
Was that Charleston meeting a public meeting?
No. So I just haven't had the chance to, I know people that are in that meeting, I just haven't had a chance to query the meeting.
thank you, Greg.
Sure.
All right, next item. Connecticut Examiner.
Do you want to come up?
Afraid I didn't expect such a large gathering. I only have one potential copy, if that is acceptable to pass around. We, basically, I know that 24 Lime Street has been a little bit of a mess. We don't own it. It's currently for sale, for $1.2 million. I don't, both buildings, I have no idea whether they will sell. In fact, there was an offer made recently that fell through because it wasn't sufficiently large. But there's a decade long at least pattern of that. So we're moving to the front just because the price, it just makes sense, but on a month to month lease. So we were aware of a sign. We would like a sign, but we also are aware that there's some mechanicals that are visible. And it's been a mess there with the garbage cans, which we have no interest in. There were always garbage cans to the side of the red building, which are shielded from view, or fairly shielded. Certainly that's where they've been for as long as I remember. So we were removing the signs, cleaning up that area, working with the Murgys and whoever, Peterson, to somehow shield those mechanicals. We don't have an exact plan for that. Removing the clutter in the
It's on
front.
the left side, right? If you're looking at the building, the mechanicals are lined up on the left.
Left side, and there's a split. Actually at the Murgys, there's a missing panel on their fence. I'm not quite sure why it's missing, but maybe we can work together either somehow to create something that's in keeping with what's existing in there. So I have no exact plan for that, but for a sign, we were planning on a sign that's smaller than what's existing with a quarter board below. They had a metal sign. We were going to do a classic wooden sign painted with classic Ronin oil paint. And we wanted a sort of something that was kind of contemporary up top to say that we're not ye old something, and then something below that sort of identifies us more clearly.
I hate to be the one to bring this up, but I think, don't we have something in the statute saying you can only have one sign?
Oh, yeah.
I only just thought it.
Okay.
I don't think you need to buy.
Okay.
I think we all know who you are, and I think that's elegantly stated.
Okay. Well, that's fine with me.
That's my own personal opinion.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys.
I like it better too, Greg, just with the,
Just
above the.
Just above.
The door, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Oh, no.
That's the difference.
No, I'm saying this.
Just the
I
contempt.
like that. I
Yeah,
like that.
just the contemporary at the top. You don't need the
No.
Connecticut Examiner above the door.
If we didn't have, it looks fair without this something up above.
Can you do
Um,
but
something
yes.
Yes.
On the glass doors,
Someone might not
Maybe-
know it's a newspaper.
I know,
Can
that's
it
what
take
I.
That's the issue.
I mean,
right?
if
They might think it's a store still. Greg, can you do something on the glass? With
Like-
Connecticut Examiner or something
Like just on the door there.
on the doors? I don't know. if
Yeah, we could just a reverse paint it. Yeah, reverse painting on glass is pretty, it would, we could also use Ronin has a good product for reverse painting. Actually, it'd be my wife Robin there do the
Yeah.
painting, and she's done a lot of reverse painting on glass. So
Would that be a second sign?
But it would be.
well, not something, well, no, because
haven't
the
addressed
places
it,
all
right?
over town has signs in the windows and we don't comment on it.
Yeah, this is a
No, that's-
physical attachment to the building.
If
Maybe.
it's a reverse painted glass, it's just like a Is that really a sign? If we do, we have to start reviewing a lot of things. around here.
I think it's too much to have both signs. I think having that is great. And I would not be opposed to something that as you enter, you could see clearly is the Connecticut Examiner or something on the glass.
You know, it's a the trick here is that I think are those two, I can't see, is it 2/2? Yeah, the mullions will make it,
Yeah,
but could we perhaps, or perhaps do it on one of I don't know if we'd want to do it on the left or the right.
What about a small plaque on the door? Like on the
right.
bottom part of the
How does
door?
that sound like a second sign?
Well, is a
I
plaque a sign?
Plaque is like a-
There you go.
I mean, we have historic plaques.
Nice. Oh, there you go. There you go. Those. Nice loophole.
There. It's a- Examiner on the flag.
Combine the two signs, they have a Connecticut Examiner with it underneath it on one side.
Potentially, is it a sign if it hooks underneath,
If they're connected.
connected? I mean, we
It's one
could
sign.
potentially hang.
I mean, look at
It's just one-
we've for years been after the Old Lyme Inn to have little signs underneath their main sign.
Right.
Yeah, they do.
We did approve for the Audubon Society, their main sign plus a little plaque on the door.
But, you know, for me, there is definite value for us to have the advertising so people know it's the newspaper and know it's there.
No, it's a newspaper.
Yeah, and CTX might look just like a design studio
That's
for a lot of
Exactly,
people.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So if you get the two of them together, they're
Yeah.
connected, right?
I would be in favor of a plaque on the door myself.
There's a lot of options.
I don't know.
Someone driving by is going to.
See a
Yeah.
plaque.
Which is more important, the modern logo or the descriptive signs?
It looks without without something filling that top underneath that light, it just looks bare.
Okay.
Yeah.
It does. And right now, just because you actually see all the paint from all the times that there has been a sign there, you know, distracting the eye is good.
You wouldn't want to put the Connecticut Examiner in place of this.
They like the.
Something.
Yeah.
This is kind of hip.
Yeah, we
It's
want
kinda-
something
it's
that's
kinda
exactly
hip.
right.
It's kind of
Yeah.
hip and it's kind of
Yeah.
classical building with a,
It is.
and that's your brand, right?
Yeah, that's our brand, and we want something kind of
Yeah.
clean and minimalist for
Yeah.
that is how I think of,
That's right.
you know.
Yeah.
The architect, but we can come back with a few other ideas in terms of something potentially connected below. I'm happy to rethink we're frankly a flag. Yeah, we initially were going to put feather banners and then they were happy to remove them.
Oh, that's sandwich wars.
Homeward was given permission.
They have, I can see the flag right there.
Well,
I think
I hate to bring this up, but the Old Lyme Inn has two signs.
And so does the
No, but
LYSB.
the
I know
signs are,
They're separate.
They're, you're talking about identification sign. The Old Lyme Inn just has their one sign that says Old Lyme Inn.
No, they have one at the corner. So
Right.
that you can't see now because of the highway. There's one at the corner and then there's one right in front of the inn.
yeah, it's actually true.
Yeah.
And the
And there actually
LYSB,
might be a third one for the side door that's pointing to it.
the LYSB got approval for a new sign a few years ago. But what we didn't realize is that they weren't going to remove the existing sign.
Okay.
So there are now two
But
signs.
this is also a zoning issue, right?
This is
I
a
mean,
zoning, this is in our statutes,
It's not,
not statute. It's,
I mean, it's in our signage guidelines, but it's in there because it's a zoning reg.
Gotcha.
so.
Why don't you come
Or-
back with some other ideas, Greg?
What's that?
Why don't you come back with a couple of, so we could take a look? I think that would be great.
I'm happy to, you know, we'll be out of town for a while, so I'm taking a little bit of a break. So, so later in the summer it would be
But you want something up there.
Would
We
you
want something up there, but we can't put up, I doubt we can paint the sign before.
Do you
we
want to
leave for
get
the
this,
UK.
do you want to get this approved or do you?
It would be great to, well,
Let's
Temporary.
wait, because we're gonna
Do it
need,
all at once?
we're gonna need the
Temporary
dimensions and the materials.
True.
But you're going to be away.
we're going to be away, so we'll be away, so a July, it's, we're gone until.
We don't meet in
June
July,
10th.
right? Do we?
August.
August, we meet.
Could someone else propose it? Could someone else come in with your
yeah,
example? and-
sure, absolutely. We could do that. That would
You
be
could have-
better.
you could
We
have
can
it.
have it all ready
You
and
have
someone
one.
else could present a few ideas. So potentially having Connecticut Examiner write still as part of the sign, but underneath.
Right.
I could see that could work. And we can try a few different visions of it. And we could try a couple of paintings on the windows just to see how it looks. That's fine. To me, it's important branding for us. It's a fairly busy street.
Ray, I don't know if you've filled out the form yet.
We have, but I'm happy we can just
Okay.
not
I mean,
submit this.
unless we're 100% certain that this would be done and approved next month, I think the thing to do, if you're amenable, is because we've got a 65-day limit. So withdraw this one, submit a new one.
Yep,
Okay,
that's completely fine.
if you're willing.
Sure.
And also the C of A, the statute requires a C of A for removing structures. So, assuming you took down the homeward sign.
We didn't.
Oh, you didn't?
We
They
didn't.
did.
Okay,
It was just gone. It was actually a metal sign that was, it was
It's
a,
not what we.
so they should have,
So-
submitted a
Anyway,
C.
we can't, I don't think we
That's
can have
their
settled
bond.
it, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
But in general, the top sign is, that was the sort of, what I want to see was the sort of visual impact and whether that was something that worked for you guys. That,
I'm just very, it's great to have such an important news organization centered in Old Lyme.
Yeah.
So congratulations. to
And I
this.
I think it's great you're moving to the front.
Yeah,
You haven't been,
Yeah.
Yep.
a lot of people know where you are, but a lot of people
Just
don't.
don't. No, exactly.
Yeah.
So, and we're certainly, want to be part of the fabric.
yeah.
So,
Awesome.
okay, good. I appreciate all the ideas and your help.
And just for the record, you are willing to withdraw the current
Oh, sure.
survey.
Absolutely.
And we'll just resubmit.
Yeah, sounds good.
So. All right,
Okay, thank you.
thank you.
Thanks,
very
Greg.
much. Okay, and now
Center School.
Center School.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Apologies up front for, I was in the airport all night. It's last night.
Oh, that's a big one.
I got stuck. So I'm Tanya Catolo. I'm representing with Silver Petroselli and Associates, representing Region 18 school district and the project of Center School across the street. And we had submitted an application last May, and we've made a slight change. So I was told that we needed to resubmit and represent. So the difference between last year's application and this year's application is due to the fact that these blast door, which is a security measure that the schools are getting as part of these renovation projects, they're very heavy. And when they did the shop drawings for the door that we had previously proposed, does everyone have a copy of the previous and the, I made a couple. So this was the previous submission.
So he's the new and old.
This is the previous one that shows the
Right.
existing door and the proposed door that look pretty much exactly like
Mhm.
what was there. I can Counselor, and if we would speed up further, two of those. And due to the weight of the door, there had to be an astragal piece between the two doors, which would then not allow for ADA access. So we had to go back and propose a single door.
Right.
And to try to mimic the historical character of the building, we did the two side lights that are shown in the newer application. And this would be set within that big trim that you see on the outside of the stone, the interior. So this is, I have a bunch of these.
That's-
This is the old.
This is the existing.
I mean, that, well.
Yes, that's the
This is existing,
existing, and the proposed was very similar to the existing. And then the new, and was a double door. Which, when I went back and did some research, wasn't terribly historical anyway,
Right.
just for the record, but that's that one. And I did bring a piece of this very heavy blast resistance glazing that you can see gets mounted then within this door frame.
To see the. is-
Yeah, and it's slightly tinted. Yeah, and I know that was one of the
It's the
questions.
side lights.
The side lights and the transom up above. So you can imagine that the structure of this door and the weight of this door is pretty heavy.
Because the door is metal.
The
Right.
door is metal, but what we are proposing to do is overlay a wood to mimic the old
Oh,
door
okay.
over
Okay,
it.
good.
So I don't know if anyone wants to touch it or feel
Yeah.
how heavy it is.
Can I try to open this door?
It will be it will be an automatic door for handicap purposes. So,
So there's no.
but you will be able to open the door.
You ready?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And these doors are also going to be at the Mile Creek School, Lime Consolidated School and the middle school.
That's sound rated glass right there. We use that thickness for,
Yeah, well, it's about, there's,
Yeah.
it's a Connecticut state statute about the security doors for schools that it has to meet. And this is a level 4 blast resistant, door and glazing,
Blast resistant.
blast resistant.
So that-
So the front door is blast and then the interior doors to the vestibule are ballistic. And this is what the state of Connecticut came up with.
Okay.
So that has to not be disturbed by the blast.
Exactly.
So the
Yeah.
framing and
To keep the door from blowing in. Yeah, so it's pretty heavy duty door. So that is where this leaves us, is with the proposal of the single door versus the double door that I showed you in that drawing.
excuse me, what is the hinging like, if a kindergartner came up to the door and tried to open it?
They, apparently you can, it is, operable, but there is also a panel for ADA access to hit to get and there's also this whole security process that you come to the door, you get buzzed in. So someone in the office is going to be able to see. That was another positive on the new design, was it has more glazing. The other schools all are very glazed, so the staff can see who's at the door. Because this was a solid door, the staff was never really able to see who was at the door. So with the side lights, it does help.
Okay,
a little
so
bit.
can I get out as easily as, anyways, there have to be buzzed in. Is that right?
Or you can, oh, right.
Yes, you do have to be buzzed in anyway.
You have to be buzzed in and then you hit the.
Mhm. Mhm.
thing.
But
And then getting out, I mean, I know this isn't our. I'm just curious, can you get out of this?
Yes, of course you can. Yes, yeah, from an ADA perspective, you can,
Yeah.
it's automated door going in through both doors and,
The current opening is 6'4".
yes, I believe so, yes. So the single door will keep the double door look as well as having to have a bar, above it, which was very, not historical at all.
Tanya, have you finished all the other work that was approved a year ago? Except for the door?
You mean the walkway and,
Yeah,
no, none of that's been done.
okay. So,
So in resubmitting the application, I did include, and that was one of the questions somebody had on the commission, was about the bluestone pavers.
right. So let's, if there are there any other questions about the door per se? So on the pavers, I understand from one of your submissions that there's no state statutory requirement for a railing along the walkway as it goes up to the door because it's not.
If it meets a 1 and 20 slope, then you don't require the railings, and that's what we're aiming for.
But
So
I
you
think-
don't have all the railing in the front.
I think it was Ed's question is, as you look at it, what is that going to look like? Especially near the platform doorway entrance.
It will be a slight, a slight rise of the
Right, but
walkway, and the
what-
grade will have to get built up to meet
There you go.
that, yeah.
That's the issue.
And that'll be feathered out over the.
Right, and it'll be subtle. It has to be to meet a 1 in 20.
So will it be like entrance 2 in this photograph that is submitted, but that one has a railing on the left side?
That one has an existing railing and both those doors are remaining.
So is the grade gonna be about that?
The grade now, if you walk from the parking lot towards the front door, the grade does rise slightly now.
Okay.
You'll feel it, yeah.
But see, I guess I'm having trouble,
Visual.
excuse me, picturing this. You've got the flat level with the ground walkway. Is there a walkway straight into the door now?
Mhm.
Right now, there's 2 steps.
And so 2 steps.
Mhm.
So you
It's a
got
rise of about
that
12 inches.
and then 2 steps, but then you've got the side walkway at the 1 in 20.
Mhm.
So as you're at the platform, how do you feather down from the,
Yeah, we'll have to
Elevated
feather down
walkway.
into the sides.
okay,
We don't have an elevation of that.
No, that hasn't been
Okay.
fully
I'm
developed yet.
looking also at the schematic here for the proposed remote door post opener location, but I can't defer.
It's, when you're approaching it, it will be to the right
Okay,
within
okay.
landscaped area. Yes, it's not gonna be like out in the middle of the
Got it,
lawn or
okay.
anything. Yeah, it has
and
to.
is that needs to be reapproved?
And that has not changed from the original approval.
But the point is that we, I suppose I'm getting hung up on a technical issue. If there are materials in your original application that were approved and those haven't changed, but you just haven't done the work yet, then we could have just simply extend that portion of the
Okay.
of the existing application. So the only thing you're really asking for a change in is,
Going from 2
The
doors to
door.
1 door.
right, and do we have specification about the feathering in the current?
Right, that's what I was gonna ask. So you're saying that the grade is gonna go up from the center walkway to alleviate those 2 steps, and then on the right side and the left side, there are steps, but they're all gonna.
It's all gonna have to come up,
Okay.
yeah, because
Oh.
you're gonna need to be able to access it from both sides. Because
So
the
the
majority of the
reason-
approach, I would say, is from the parking lot, not from the street side. But
Oh,
both of them.
I misunderstood. I thought you'd come up from the street and then hit it and then go up 2 steps.
That's what it is now,
That's what it is now. but You're
Yes.
changing that.
correct.
Ah,
So
okay.
John, on this is
Okay.
the current front, and then this
Forgive
is
my
the one
confusion.
along the
Yes.
front of the building.
Then feathering makes complete sense to me. Otherwise it didn't.
My concern was that as you view it from the street, that the sidewalk would
Look mounded.
look mounded, yes.
I think it's gonna be pretty subtle. And it has to be because you also have the other doors on the other sides that that are gonna remain the same at that same elevation.
Right, so for entrance number 2, what is happening with that door? Is that door already?
That door is remaining as is.
Okay.
Because part of the project was to replace the sidewalks to meet ADA access. It was a code.
Is that all blast resistant and everything too, that door?
No. No, the state, that's the way the
Doesn't
state
it make
decided
any
only,
sense?
yeah, it doesn't make any sense because. they're gonna have another go, hey, we're gonna ask information on. Let's see that. That's another logic.
I mean.
Okay, and then the remote door.
That's a state decision, not mine.
So this paddle and post you said will be, where will it be in relation to? the
It would,
door?
on one of the drawings, it's on the site plan, but it's to the right. When you approach, it's to the right. And again, none of that was changed. That's all from the original application.
Is there I guess we need 2 motions to extend the current one first and second second motion to approve the new doors with whatever language we want to clarify if needed, the feathering.
Can I just ask one more question? The bluestone will stay. You're not changing that material. Is that right? Okay.
I have one question on the design of the light. Could you pass the? Okay, that is original. All right, never mind. Perfect.
Okay.
Yeah, thank
So I'll make a motion for the first, I'll make the first motion to extend the prior C of A application,
Except for the door.
except for the door. Is that what it needs to say? Okay.
Do you anticipate having a feeling as to when this work actually would be completed?
They're going to remove the existing door this summer, but because of the long lead time, because of this blast door, it sounds like there might be a temporary door until they can install it in the fall.
Okay.
But they do have a deadline for this grant, which is part of the HVAC upgrades December of this year.
This is all part of the renovation project.
Yes.
Okay. And what would the temporary door be?
I'm not quite sure at the moment.
Well, I'm-
They've
Why would
That's
they,
great.
why would they bother with the temporary door? Why wouldn't they just leave the existing door?
because they can install the rest of it, and then all they have to do is pop the door in. So they have to, because it's such a massive door, the way they have to attach it to the existing
Yeah.
masonry opening, it's apparently quite.
Okay,
I'll
So-
second your motion, Carolyn.
right. Is there any discussion of the motion to extend the current C of A, which was approved with the exception of the provisions concerning the door? A discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? That one carries. So is there a motion to approve the new door with, Martha, do you have the original C of A application? Does it say anything about this feathering, or were we just assuming that?
We got a question answered. And so it does say the ramp to the door will be at a 1 inch to 20-foot rise. Meet ADA accessibility.
Right, but
That's
does
all.
it say anything about feathering the landscape dirt?
It says at this 120 slope, no railing will be required. This will be constructed to meet this very low rise to the front door by replacing the original bluestone pavers.
Is this the only handicap entrance into the building?
It doesn't have anything about the feathering.
No.
Okay,
But they
So-
want it to be the main entrance for security reasons. That's what.
so what I would suggest is anyone's willing to make the motion is that we approve the new doors with the total, there will be 3 ramps, one from each side and one from the center.
Correct.
So does it say ramps plural?
No,
You
What are
said
considered a
ramp.
sloped walkway.
grading change.
Well, we could, in the motion, clarify that there are three slopes, gradually sloping
Here's
ramps
the original. There's the original
from last year or
from
this
last year. That's the original approval. It does mention the 3 bluestone walls.
So this is fine. So I think that the new motion needs to include the new doors and the feathering of the ground so that there's no visible side of the walkway. Anyone willing to make that motion?
I'll make the motion.
So we have a motion, Martha, to approve the new doorways as submitted and to clarify that the ground will be feathered to so that there's no visibility of the side of the walkways.
The grade will be.
Wait, 'cause will there be, stone dust along the edge? I mean, how will, looking at the grade, I know it's only 120, but how will it look from the front view?
I would think that they'd have to excavate out a little bit and then just make it kind of a gradual
Mhm.
slope all around. So you're not gonna see a side of a ramp. You're gonna see just
We're not gonna see the
lawn
edge of the
slowly
mountain
rolling up
or
toward
anything,
it.
So they
yeah.
using stone dust on the edging or something. I know that's our concern that it's.
Yeah, I think it's more the lawn is going to roll up towards it because the pavers have to sit on grade. So you can't,
So they're gonna build up and then
Yeah.
place them.
And then from whatever is needed to place them, they feather down. Okay, so we have a motion
Oh, go ahead.
to approve the new doors. We've already accommodated in their original motion, the sloped walkways, but to add the condition that the lawn be sloped down from the walkways so that no walkway structure is visible from the side. The material of the side of the walkway is
Will
not
not be
visible.
Do you want to add anything? Because I know it was a concern that language that says that the feathering, the sloping, the change in grade will be executed in a way that has minimal visual impact.
Yeah, I think that's fine. I mean, we can't without an engineering plan, get into that
Right.
sort of
But
detail. We trust you.
We can include that language.
Yeah.
I have one question and thought. So the hardware is not indicated for the handle.
Mhm.
Not a big fan of what's there now.
Yeah, no.
I was wondering if you thought about what that appearance of that hardware might be on the door. It's like a bronze or
Yeah, I can probably get you that detail. I know that there's been discussion about this hardware, especially when it was a double door. Now it's a single door. It's a lot
it's
easier.
cleaner.
Yeah,
it's
definitely
simpler.
cleaner. Yeah. But yes, I can get you the drawing or the specification on that hardware.
Well, I'd like to end this motion, like say it's a bronze or black and
Okay.
not a stainless or a,
Okay, no, that's not a problem.
what do you guys think?
It'd be nice if it
Yeah,
was black.
that's good.
Black or bronze?
Black or
Then the door
bronze.
color is gonna stay the same.
Yes.
Okay,
It's a small detail, but it's important.
No, I agree with you because I do. That's not.
That was very industrial.
Yes.
Yeah.
okay, this leads me to another question. The door will remain black?
It's actually a really dark green.
Green.
I believe it's
Dark
Essex green is the
Okay.
color and that's what we
And
use.
is that the color of the material or is that the color of paint?
That is the color of paint.
Yeah.
And it is a wood veneer door. So when it's a glass door, they have to put a wood veneer over it.
It's a wood cladding.
It's a wood
on the
cladding
glass door.
over. a
So
glass door.
it's essentially a wood door from a surface
I
point. of view.
And
understand,
the door that is there existing is steel.
but we technically can't say anything about paint color. If paint-
Correct.
If paint is permitted, but
Right.
because I was thinking of phrasing the door handle to match the color of the door or be bronze.
Well, we want a green handle.
Yeah,
We,
no, on a black.
yeah.
Yeah, black or bronze.
I would say.
Right, so we'll specify
Yeah,
black
Yeah.
or bronze.
Yeah.
Material. So we got doors. Gradual. Feathering to match the landscape and. Black or bronze
hardwood.
hardware for the door.
So I second.
Who made the motion?
I did.
Okay, Deanie made the motion. Carolyn seconds. Further discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Who seconded that?
Carolyn.
Carolyn. Thank you.
That's
We're approved. Thank you for your patience.
heavy glass. Wow.
Thank you. Do you want any of these?
We have these.
Those, okay, because I have a bigger one, yes.
You need help with the.
I'll hurt your back.
Thank you. Okay.
Okay, next on the agenda, Peter.
I think this is mostly just an update on the fence, but some other stuff that you've probably, if you've driven past the Florence Griswold, have seen going on.
Painting.
Yeah.
Yeah, painting.
Yeah, a lot of painting. So some of you, I think I have it in here, Carolyn's notes, came by and measured the fence, which by the way was really wonderful and very helpful. And anybody who didn't see this already, maybe you have it, maybe you don't, but sort of trying to right size the dimensions of the fence based on the conversation that we had whenever it was last fall, I guess. Some folks took some measurements and it makes much more sense, and visually, I think it will sort of look less like the fence is going uphill even as it goes downhill. So we'll make those repairs soon. The folks that actually built the fence, thank you. The folks that actually built the fence, or rebuilt the fence, I should say, are right now working on the interior of Saunders House. I don't know. Saunders House is a property that's on what's the road? Yes, yeah. And it's had been occupied for a very long time. Not much has been done for improvements. It needs a new furnace. It needs paint. We're not sure exactly how we intend to use that, but it did need to be maintained. So that work is in progress. And as soon as they're done that. I'm sorry to interrupt, but every time I come, I'm waiting longer than I'm sitting and talking, and I just can't keep doing it. So I appreciate what you guys are doing, but I'm sorry. It's just too much for me. I end up waiting an hour.
We do our best.
I know. I wish I could just
Charlie,
leave my
and
stuff.
sometimes people raise issues and they just take a long time to.
I understand. Would it help to help this gentleman take this? No, I'd rather not. Please take your time. I'm not trying to rush anybody. I just can't keep waiting every time. You know?
Do you want to go now or?
No, I don't want to take your time. No, that's fine, actually. I'm really.
Have-
I'm in no hurry to go back where I have to go.
Charlie, can you come next meeting and we'll put you
Which is the
first,
first.
put you at the front end, and that way there will be, you know,
You would first sign.
First.
there should be no wait.
Okay.
It- it-
That would be great.
Yeah,
Okay.
first.
Yeah.
I do tend to wait an hour every time I come.
Yeah, well, it's not an hour, it's 15 minutes, at this
Right,
point.
yes.
But-
But I know enough to know enough about
Right.
how that goes. So
Okay,
sorry for interrupting. No. Have a great day.
All right.
All right, thanks, John.
we'll see you next week, Charlie. Thank you.
I don't think he knows how brief I intended to be. So yes, and the house is being painted. It should be done probably in the next couple of weeks. One of the things we expected to find things when we went through it, and it's being repaired according to the way the state sort of suggested with the grant that they'd offered us ought to be. One of the things that we found, if you've seen the columns, they're in pretty rough shape at the bottom. I don't know how they were. I don't know what the standards were back when those were originally worked on, but evidently they were repaired with Bondo. And Bondo doesn't really bond with everything. And so it's actually, you can see some holes. Those are going to be epoxied and completed according to the state's plan for it. And the house will be sort of spectacular, I think, in just a few short weeks, depending on the weather. But
So
yeah,
on the house itself,
yeah.
are you repairing anything besides the column?
There's some of the porch where it enters in, some of the floorboards have rotted, and those are being repaired in the same way essentially as the columns are. In the back, there's also another sort of deck entry that goes into the kitchen. Some, there's small sort of pockets of rot that are being sort of taken out and replaced properly there. The other thing that we are doing, the building that's immediately behind it, what we didn't want to have happen was to have the house look brand new and beautiful and then have that look, still sort of needing some attention.
Which
So
building is this?
It's
The first barn?
it is a barn. It's not the first standalone barn. It's a barn that's attached. And it houses our heating equipment.
It's attached to the house.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
As you come in the back.
Yeah.
It's not.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, yeah.
North side of the porch.
Right, right. So we're having that done so that at least that sort of two building combination looks like it's done the way it ought to be. And then I know,
But That's.
I'm sorry, but John, go ahead.
I'm concerned with the repairs. Are there repairs to that
No,
attached part? Okay,
No.
Just painting.
just painting, yeah.
We do need assuming the repairs, you taking out wooden boards and putting in wooden boards. We do need for record keeping a
Okay.
like for like
Yeah.
form. So have you done that?
We haven't attempted those yet, so, but I will get that information. I'll send it along. Because yes, I don't see that there's a lot of, except for the porch, which is not original, but really important. The front will be, as I said, the columns will be repaired. The ability to sort of match the wood that was there is virtually impossible. One of the things that we found when we took the paint down was it had been in the past repaired by, and I guess this is probably standard as well. They sort of circled it with foam insulation, and then they backed it up with caulking instead of the wood that was actually once in that joint. And so they're going to try to replace that skirting with new wood, and then seal it so that it doesn't continue to be damaged. Fortunately, the columns actually have timbers in the center. Many times, I guess, didn't know this until
Hollow.
they're hollow, yeah. But these all have timbers, which is helpful for the stability of the overhanging porch.
Yeah, it's the structure for the porch, right? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
We're replacing a lot of broken glass. We're trying to preserve glass. There's several windows that have etchings that the artists have done that we've been very careful to try to make sure those get preserved. But so far it's gone very smoothly, all things considered. We are past the halfway point for the state, so we're going to be filling out our paperwork and submitting that. The museum has this really sort of wonderful campus and this beautiful property, and I think people imagine that it's this rich enterprise, but the cost of painting the house is extraordinary, and the only way we could afford it is if we had the state sort of help us, and we don't know what the economics are, but we're still expecting them to cut that check, so we'll see.
Boy, that would be a disaster. But Pete, just so you know, any change, any alteration, the like for like form has to be submitted before work begins.
Okay,
So before work begins on the porch or the columns or the fence, you have to submit that.
I will.
And I'm still, forgive me,
you
a
should
bit
do that right away.
confused. If you're replacing some current, I'm not sure what the material is, with wood,
Mhm.
then it's not a like for like repair.
I
So
can
you
show-
need a
those-
C of A for those, any changes. If you're just replacing a wood floorboard, for
Yeah.
example, because it's rotten, that's fine. And frankly, we don't care if the old board was pine and you're using spruce, I don't care.
Cypress or wherever.
Yeah, but,
Yeah.
so we conceivably, depending on whether the repairs are, you're replacing with the exact thing, wood for wood, et cetera. We need a like for like form for those repairs, and then a C of A for any changes in material.
But I think, John, if it's a wooden overall structure, right? And then there's been some patching over the years with a material that's not the original wood material. And you're going back to what was original wood material, and you're just kind of removing the patchwork, if you will. I wouldn't consider that as a C of A. I would say that's a lot.
No, I agree, but then there was some discussion, and forgive me, I'm just not picturing it, about skirting that was a different material.
Yeah, I'll send pictures and I'll actually fill out the form just in case it's necessary and can come back and talk. But exactly what you're describing is what we're looking at. There are, if you were to walk up to the columns, you can even see them from the road. Where there was Bondo, which was intended to patch. the
That's a
big
patch.
gaps, Yeah,
Right.
Yeah,
those gaps we're trying to sort of close in the way that the state suggested was the appropriate.
wood,
Right.
Yeah.
which is originally there, so
That's, I
I,
don't have a problem with
Yeah,
that, but
yeah,
if
right.
you're changing some synthetic skirting to
Yes.
wood,
Yeah.
then we
That's a
need to
change,
see if
yeah,
that's a
right.
change.
Yeah.
So,
And then I think I didn't come here to talk about it, but I know that you're all aware that the museum is very sort of excited about an expansion project, that it still has an awful lot of work still to do. Before I think it's ready to sort of share more broadly, because I think there's a fundraising element to it. There's still sort of in the design sort of imagination. I think the two priorities for the museum are to grow its ability to have educational programs because the space is limited to be able to do that. And then to just simply sort of modernize the interior of the galleries with, lighting that is, something that is available when you go to replace bulbs today, that kind of thing. So, but that will be something that I think that the group would be very thrilled. Probably the architects would be very excited to come and talk to you more about sometime in the next couple of months.
just so you know, our jurisdiction extends obviously just to the district and to any structures that are at least partly in the district. So if you're, let's say, and we're concerned with just exterior renovations, but if you had exterior renovations, but they were completely concerning buildings that were beyond 300 feet from the center of Lime Street, in principle, we're interested, but we have no decision-making authority.
Yeah, no, and I realize that too, but I did think that, I mean, I don't know sort of the implications for anything that's within that 300 feet yet. I don't think that we know that precisely. But I suspect there will be something that comes in front of this group for that. But I think sort of understanding it in context for all the changes that the museum is sort of imagining would be valuable.
That would be helpful. And then back to the fence itself.
Yeah.
Can you please describe? I have seen these measurements.
Yep.
What exactly, how you are going to change the look of the fence to avoid the current significant gaps?
Well,
Are you building down from what's
no,
there? Or are
I think
lowering the fence? What are you?
the where the fence sort of shows that it's out of proportion mostly is the further as you come south.
Yes.
And I think the goal is still to fill in that ground where it has sort of just eroded, but really it's to take the top of those off and lower them to the heights that make sense and put them in proportion to the rails.
The post.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah. And then we knew that we would have the group that did the work in the spring anyway, because we anticipated that there'd be separation between boards that were joined and things like that. So they are going to come back and they're going to do those repairs as well. But I think that there are really 3 columns that need a height adjustment. And I think it will sort of be less visually jarring to see that they're in better proportion to the rest of the fence as they go down, as they go south.
One of them has something coming off the bottom too, right? Is it the southernmost one? Then the southernmost post?
Yes, yeah. But I think we need a little bit more clarification about exactly what the alternate fence is going to look like. I mean, this is a recommendation, but you can see in the final paragraph, the change in overall height from column 1 on the north to column 6 on the south will be 2.5 inches rather than 15 inches. Are you intending to conform to this recommendation? And if you're not, we would like to know where you're not, because some of these require you to shorten the distance below the bottom rail, because that gap can't be completely filled in
Mhm.
and made consistent just with loam. It's a large difference.
I think what makes the most sense, then trying to sort of translate this to what it will look like is to incorporate these calculations into, we have, as I said, we have an architect already. It would be a simple thing to just say, could you please give us a depiction of this with these dimensions? And we can send that along. Because I think that it would be easy to understand it if we did that.
Yeah.
I think that's great.
Yeah.
But this is, I mean, Carolyn and I feel like this is accurate but it doesn't visually, we can't exactly see it
Right.
unless it's these
That would
measurements.
be
are put in.
extremely helpful.
Yeah.
And since it is a change, we do need a new C of A. So once we have that rendering,
That sounds
we
good.
could submit it with, this
That
is an
has to happen
attachment. and
before the work
we're fine.
begins.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they have plenty of work to do before they get to this. So there's time to get that in and get to that to you folks.
And Pete, Dini took this photograph to let you know the distance between the ground and the bottom rail, the bottom slats. So that's more, this is what Lime Street looks like now. You'll see that in front of the Ludington house, in front of John Noyce's house, and all these fences in front of Russ's house. The gap between the ground, even though we all know for maintenance, there has to be some gap.
Yeah.
Is much, much less. So we would like to see the ultimate result be more consistent with
This
the
is-
look on Lime Street.
No, you can keep it, but this is relative, a lot of, and they never came to us, by the way, but a lot of this has recently been replaced. So,
You mean
New.
the fencing, you mean?
yes.
Yeah. Which house is this?
This is
It's
the
the-
last house on the right before the overpass or across from the Lime Academy.
Okay.
That's a new.
That was a very popular
It's not all
design in
new,
its day.
Yes.
It's not all new, but it was,
They did
it was
repair it.
repair, but it was a significant repair.
That's fabulous. Thank you. All right.
Great. Thank you
Thank
so
you
much.
very much. I appreciate it.
This is, we really appreciate the open communication.
No, this is
You're
very-
welcome anytime if you've got just some ideas you want to bounce off.
Thank you. Put me on after the former guy. I think.
Sorry about that.
Well, he came an hour.
He's on the agenda for 10, he's only was 15 minutes late.
Maybe that was his plan, if I look indignant.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Did he have well, yeah, the agenda was posted.
Yeah,
so-
I sent him a copy of the agenda.
You can't. Don't worry about
Respond.
it.
Thank you, Julie. That was great.
We're doing
Julie, thank you so much for
all the work. you do.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Teamwork.
Okay, secretary's report.
Okay, so we have 14 situations involving active C of As or other matters. 3 of those are actually like for likes, but we're keeping an eye on them. So the first one is, 1 Lime Street, the window replacements, which were approved at the last meeting. And then the porch and foundation work, which will be on the agenda in June. The 6 Lime Street fence, I still have not gotten any kind of response from Mrs. Fowler. So I will send her like a letter instead
I
of
think
just an
that's
email.
appropriate. It's been going on quite a while and
Yeah,
I understand the circumstances, but
Yep. And then we have the 38 Lime Street house. The renovations continue, and I see that he's actively working on that a lot now.
He really is.
Yeah,
Looking
they seem out
close.
there.
Almost done. Everything's out.
It looks
One more course to do.
49 Lime Street, the center school front door. 57 Lime Street, the mechanicals, which we will take a look at and make sure they're gonna screen that other side.
and are you going to follow up with them?
Yes,
Say
Yeah.
what's going on?
yeah, yes. Seems a little.
Maybe they gave the wrong direction to the contractor and they Anyway,
No, sin of omission.
Upside down.
Yeah.
And then we have 59 Lime Street, the Limes Youth Service Bureau renovations. 74 Lime Street, the new house. 84 Lime Street, the Sill House. They keep saying they're going to replace their roof. And it's going to be like for like, but we don't have any additional information on that. So I'll follow up with them again too.
Right.
Then we have the 96 Lime Street, Florence Griswold. 97 Lime Street, the Garden Shed. That C of A is going to expire July 1st. So I'll get in touch with them and see if there's a kind of an update on the status of that. Like if they just want to keep, they have any plans to do it. They haven't started it, but this is like 2 years at least, I think, that they've had this sort of planning to do it, but they haven't actually started anything. And then the Halls Road sidewalk proposal. I'm not sure what's happening with that now that there's no overlay district. Like, are they going to do anything with that or?
I don't think there's been an official decision, but I think there's a general consensus that something should be done. And whether that laps over to include a sidewalk in front of the Art Academy and in the museum and Audubon, I just don't know.
Okay. And then the three like for likes are 61 Lime Street, new roof and gutters. That's the brown house that's next to, just to the left of the Limes Youth Service Bureau. 32 Lime Street, that's Cindy's house. She put up a new fence that'll be getting painted. 64 and 68 Lime Street, the new storefront windows. Haven't heard anything more from them. But that man who came last month insisted that
It was like for like.
it was like for like. So we'll see what actually happens there. And then the membership renewals.
Give my like,
And then
I said a like for
For
like.
like for like.
Oh,
Is-
that's right.
Yeah,
Yes.
105.
And I had one that I put in 1.5 years ago that I haven't done yet, about just
Me too.
filling in the driveway.
Fell straight over my.
Mine's repairing my pen.
What question? On the new fence on the corner of Limes, of Academy?
Yeah.
The pickets aren't like the ones they replaced, they removed.
Mhm.
So
It's not like for like.
it's
That's
not,
this one, the one I have the pictures.
No, it's
No.
Beckwith Lane, don't you?
Beckwith Lane, I'm sorry, Beckwith.
Cindy's
Yeah.
house. I noticed that too.
Right, I noticed that there,
Pickens are
It's
much
like
thinner and
Home Depot
flimsier.
fence.
Yeah, it is.
is it wood? Looks wood.
It's wood, it's wood.
It's wood, but it is a different design.
Yeah,
It's a different
and it's-
picket.
it's
It's,
not- historic.
Right.
It doesn't look historic.
We have the picture. I mean, we have pictures.
So that would be, I think I've noticed that too, and I think it's
Yeah.
the thing to query.
It looked
I mean,
fun.
she's obviously going the cheapest way. Does Cindy own the house? She does, right? She's obviously taking this cheapest option, but
Mhm.
doesn't look great.
Hmm.
We want to flag it or just let it go.
I hate letting things go just because we know somebody.
Mhm.
I really do.
but was there an application before the,
It was
She sent a like for
It was a like for like representation.
So we can notify her that the materials are, and the dimensions maybe or
I
not.
think it looks taller.
What?
I think it looks.
We have
I think it looks
pictures.
longer.
Yeah,
We have.
Yeah,
pictures.
just say you filed a like for like, you can say. 3 people have commented that it looks different.
I think the better way to say it is, can you know, what's the difference in dimensions rather than 3
Right.
people
Right.
are? Is the fence replacement consistent with the like for like form or have the materials dimensions changed?
Change.
When it's painted, very few people are going to notice.
But it's,
Yeah.
there was the square picket with the pointy top.
Yes.
Were they
Okay.
square pickets? They were square pickets.
Hers
Be-
were- hers
before.
were, I think, flat. I think it was just a flat picket
Yeah.
fence. I'd have to
Previous
look at the
ones?
old
Yeah,
pictures.
I think so too.
I don't
But
think it was
then-
a square.
We have photographs.
So we do have photographs. I don't think it was the square pickets. I think it had been.
Rectangular.
I think it had been
They were just
replaced,
flat.
you know, sort of.
Because now it's like the half-inch thick,
Mhm.
wide with a,
Stockade kind of fence looking.
Yeah, we do have fairly recent pictures.
We do.
Oh, okay.
I
so
have,
maybe
I
we
just
could wait
don't.
and
There-
I
see.
can call it up in just a minute. Take me a minute, but.
Well, yeah, we could probably call it up in real estate listing.
Probably on
matter.
Google Earth
That number?
or Vision Appraisal.
Is it 32? I'm straight.
They were pickets, but they looked like they were shorter. This is just real estate
They do
picture.
look if they're shorter.
but that is.
These are just
Kinda
flat pickets.
Yeah,
Flat
they are.
pickets.
They are.
They're
Okay.
flat.
They're just
We
flat.
just
Yeah.
never noticed because it was just in such
Yeah.
a disarray.
Yeah.
And is the gate still there? Did they do the gate and the posts?
On the side of this gate.
Right? Did they?
I don't remember seeing the gate,
Okay.
but there has to be a entranceway.
I don't remember seeing the gate either. But we'll certainly.
So the question is really the height. You think the height is different now of the pickets?
Well, we don't have measurements. Visually, it looks as if it's different.
It does sort of feel like it might.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the question for her is, does she need a certificate of appropriateness instead of a like for like, if the materials, dimensions and.
Well, why don't we, before we send that inquiry, Martha, somebody, if there's a volunteer, maybe Ed, if he's walking by, can just double check on the status of the gate.
Okay,
And if there's a question there, we'll hit her with one communication that has all the
I think that-
concerns.
Yeah, is there a time issue? Like we want to flag it soon so she doesn't go to the expense of painting it
Yes,
if she has to take it down?
yes.
I think even though, yes, delicate with Cindy, nevertheless, that's a very important historic property and we can't compromise the standards. Because even though it's difficult, it's not going to be an easy one.
Right.
But I think it's important.
Mhm.
Okay, so can, Ed, we deputize you, are you gonna be walking by soon?
Mhm.
well, when the rain stops,
Like
I can
next
do a
week.
drive-by just as easily.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think it might be a little bit taller, but couldn't she just take it up and reduce the height of the pickets? I mean, she wouldn't have to completely replace
They're
it.
so flimsy. Do we care? I mean, is
Well, I
that?
mean, they were flimsy
that-
before.
Yeah,
Well, what was there was flimsy. So
It would
that-
just be interesting to know if there was a height difference or if it was just, we were so used to it and the grade is a little, and the fence itself was a little wavy.
Mhm.
We'll do side by side
Thickness of the
photos.
posts the same? Like this thickness of the slats, thickness of the pickets?
I don't know.
That's what looks different to me, but maybe it's just my eye.
I think it just looks taller, but maybe because it's not painted.
Okay, well, we'll try to document
And
that.
there's
We
no
have
Things
photographs.
grown.
Painting does make a difference.
It does.
Yes.
How you
Might
perceive
not
it.
have noticed if it had
Yeah.
been painted faster.
Okay, anything else, Martha? You were
Um,
starting on,
Just the membership renewals.
Taylor,
I went-
she was on the committee.
Oh, she was.
Yeah.
In the
Chair.
past,
I'm sorry.
the membership renewals, we have 4 membership renewals. In the past, I have the amounts. In the past, it totaled $390. And it comes out of our other miscellaneous line item, and we have 450 in there. We haven't spent any of that.
Okay.
So we can afford to do that. Preservation Connecticut, we usually give them 115. National Trust for Historic Preservation, 75. Florence Griswold Museum, 100, and the Old Lyme Historical Society, 100. That's usually what we do.
Okay, if it's in the budget, and I don't think we have anything else anticipated in the next few months, seems
Well, it's
appropriate to
only
me.
1 month, really,
Yeah.
this month and
Mhm.
June,
there
and then we
A
get.
motion to approve payments
So moved.
as Martha
I'll
will,
second.
as explained, and she'll fill them out in the motion. So Carolyn moves, Russ seconds, discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None, abstentions, none. Okay. And anything else? Plaque program?
I don't have any updates on that, no.
Okay.
I haven't been able to get any information, additional information on 23 Lime Street. I mean, it just kind of vanishes. Once the property was split up, then there's nothing before that. And that was in 1923. Property. It was a bigger piece of property, was split in 1923. So Fred's house is on the part that was split off. So there's no mention in the land records of any particular dwellings, The land records, they have a
They don't
generic,
always mention a dwelling.
they always say a dwelling,
Sometimes they do.
but
Right.
they don't identify it as anything in particular.
Are there old pre-1923 photos that would have shown anything? Of
Which house are you talking about?
2023?
The soap factory,
Oh, the soap factory.
yeah. Like we all know it as the soap factory, but we don't
We
have
do have-
any confirmation.
On Ferry Road.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are photographs.
Who would have those? The Florence Griswold?
I could find them, yeah. Want me to find them?
Yeah, that would be great. That could
There
help.
are also drawings and etchings that include it. The early, I think the John Warner Barber Westview of Lyme has it, and the 1876 etching by Charles Parsons, I think, has it.
Oh,
And then there are photographs, but I can't tell you the date of the photographs, but there are visual
okay. Oh, good.
images.
So
Yeah,
we could narrow it down then.
yeah.
Okay,
So the Barber etching is 1832, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I know.
Good.
And if photographs obviously would be later because there weren't photographs.
Right,
already, yeah.
right. Yeah. Good. Okay, see what you can.
Yeah, I'll send you those.
Yeah, that would be great. Thank you.
new and ongoing business, Realtor signs, I suggest waiting for next week. We're up against 11. We'll put that after Charlie James.
Yes.
Make sure it gets done.
Yes.
Russ, do you
I
have
have-
a
yeah, I
few
have.
comments on Old Lyme Inn?
I do. So I reached out to Ken and, first conversation was that they've added the 2 signs on the main side, which look fantastic.
I do.
And then I sent a follow-up note saying that, the sign attached to the fence and the wire signs, could there be a different, approach to those? And actually, Chris, emailed back that she would be interested in hearing from the commission, whether or not doing like a banner type approach, similar to the flow grids across the street, would be appropriate. And that, whether it would be possible to do 1 or 2 banners. And when she said 2 banners, I wasn't,
It means of, on both sides, 2 arms.
oh, I see.
The Art Association also uses banners.
Right.
That's how they.
That's right.
Right.
To do basically, I think they do the Sunday brunch, and then she was wanting to do something that indicated the side door so that that the side door is there. Now, what's interesting is she mentioned there is that sign for the Old Lyme Inn that's at the corner. That we normally don't see that because
I don't see it.
it's hidden
It's in
behind
the
all,
parking lot, right? It's.
No, it's
By the off ramp.
by the off ramp. We used to see it all the time, but then the DOT put all their, don't go this way signs,
Yeah.
and it's kind of hidden. I don't know if she was suggesting to put a banner there or maybe 2 banners. How would you do 2 banners off the main side?
I don't think you can. Are there two arms? Is there just one?
Yeah, so there's a larger one like at Flowgriz. So on the right, there's the larger one that's works, and then there's the smaller one for the changing exhibition.
Oh, I see. But their sign is this way, so you do a sign this way and a sign.
I thought they just had it one pole.
Here's the sign,
One vertical.
right here.
Yeah.
Right. That's the sign.
So I don't know how you do.
But they
two
could
flags on
put
it.
another,
You can put a banner behind, which, a single banner.
could they put another arm on it? The banner on?
If you put another arm, I don't think you want, if they want to keep their existing sign,
Yes,
I don't think it should be a banner then, maybe it should be a, something, an auxiliary sign.
What if it was a
The same
rod? If they
material.
put like a rod,
Yeah,
I think.
a black metal rod?
I think
and then
one
they could
banner
sing a
off the
banner
back
off
of
the
that
back?
sign would be
Would be
appropriate.
yeah,
Okay.
well, I didn't, when I said two, I was imagining the whole,
Yeah.
yeah, I know. what
Yeah.
you're saying. But a
Like
banner
Flowgriz
would
does.
be because of the shape of it, the banner, if you put the banner higher, it's gonna look odd.
A long one though. I mean,
Yeah, I don't think it's gonna go visually mix very well with the existing sign because of that lower
well, what would you,
distance that it attaches.
what would your suggestion be?
Well, sometimes if a secondary sign, there can be an arm and then they have, sort of chain link things, so you can have one, maybe you could
They
say
had an arm
side
coming
door and
out.
another
That's
one
what
on
I'm
the same
saying.
brunch.
That's what I'm suggesting. Yeah. Already there are two dangling ones here now,
There are.
which are nice.
Right.
And if you had, you wouldn't want to make it equal, that would look bad. If you did it here.
Why don't you say in principle?
Adding a
It
single
would be an improvement. The suggestion is single banner,
Yeah.
and the third point is there were questions about how it would look proportionately and what size do they have in mind.
Right.
And the fourth question would be, what if anything are you gonna do about your illegal second sign?
You mean the one on the fence?
Oh,
No, the one on the. in the-
Corner.
in the
Oh,
corner.
nothing. There's nothing. I mean, that would have had to have been
No,
dealt with. a long
But
time.
here,
I'm not gonna raise it.
no, okay, but
That's
here's,
fine.
here's a
That's
thought,
fine.
if they, is it visible enough that they could envision banners there to sort of replace?
Well, what I was gonna say is that we probably wouldn't be opposed to a second banner on
Right.
that sign, but then does that make us culprit in supporting two signs?
Yeah.
Right, but if, let's say you had a separate, on that sign, you were advertising the size of the cafe.
Right.
You have two that are identifying,
The end. I see what you're saying. Do a separate side door sign there. Yeah,
I mean, just,
yeah,
say.
Yeah.
We really appreciate their thoughtfulness and
Mhm.
here are some of the ideas that came up or questions that came up.
yeah.
She sounded very receptive.
Yeah.
That's great.
It's a great step forward. And then we would want them
Huge
to come
step
in and show us some,
Mhm.
show us the ideas.
Yeah, what I'll say is. It looks like that the commission would support a single banner on the sign out front.
If it's proportionate.
It's a proportionally sized banner.
Yes.
If you'd like to present that, come present that. If you're desiring a second signage, it would need to be associated with the
Other side.
other sign near the road, near the exit ramp. And we'd be open to hearing ideas.
Associated with or replace.
Or associated or replaced, yeah, right.
Okay,
Yeah, because I think it would be too much to have two banners
Yeah.
on the main sign.
Yeah, it would be.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of room because I've thought about this for a long time, that would be their solution to have a banner. It seems to me that there isn't a lot of room between post
And the
and the
wall,
fence.
yeah.
So it would have to be a slender.
But if
banner.
they did like side doors.
side door.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they could do it.
They could,
It's just that I
Yeah.
mean, they couldn't do a great big out of proportion one because they don't have the room.
the fact that she was already heading that direction.
Yeah.
Is great,
Great.
so,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, but it could be out of proportion height.
It could be.
That's.
But if it were narrow,
She knows that she pulled the one sign today, the
She did.
wire sign, yeah. And it's gone, that's all.
great.
No, it may come back next weekend, but.
Deanie, we wait on P O C D.
Yeah, I mean, really, just people could read over this. It's not the only specific thing in here. I think really it's interesting to read some of the POCD, especially when they mention the HTC. As for specific things, it's the demolition delay that they suggest potentially considering a demolition delay within the historic district. So we've already been through that, not with the demolition delay, but with the Children's Learning Center. Remember, they wanted to demolish it, and and I mean there are some things already in place. For example, you have to come to us in order to demolish, but it's not the same as a demolition delay like they have in places like Mystic, and all these towns have demolition delays.
Yeah.
So this was a suggestion that was made, and it's something that maybe we could bring up with Eric, because he also had mentioned it completely separately another time. So that's something that could be discussed, but we don't have to talk about it here now.
Great. Is there a motion to adjourn? Everybody raises their hand.
I second.
Carolyn moves, Russ seconds. Motion carries.
We're out of here.